Well, it's been an interesting journey, and the journey continues. As you may imagine, growing grapes and making wine is about 180 degrees away from medicine, but I frequently tell my doctor buddies that both of them combine science and art. And there is an inordinate number of physicians in the wine world across the globe. And why that is, I'm not sure I know the answer, but I think it is the combination of art and science and the challenge that is involved in growing grapes and making good wine. Let's see.
When you started out, you maybe were just a wine fan.
Right.
How much wine knowledge did you have when you took on this vineyard?
Well, we had been wine fans for 40 years, and but really did not know basically anything about making wine or growing grapes. And after we got interested in this, I started taking courses at Grayson College in Denison, Texas, which is the home of Thomas V. Munson, who saved the French wine industry in the latter part of the 19th century. And they have the Thomas Munson Institute at Grayson College, and I started taking viticulture and enology courses there, and got a wealth of knowledge in a very short period of time that led us to get started. And throughout our short duration, we have worked with very knowledgeable consultants, both in viticulture and in winemaking. We now have a young winemaker, Todd Webster, who does a great job for us. So I'm not the official winemaker anymore, although I'm still involved in the process, but I don't bear the title of winemaker anymore.
In case there's a physician or anyone else watching, thinking about getting into the wine business, what kind of advice or sage wisdom could you impart?
Well, it's a lot of fun. You never get bored. But be prepared to work and be prepared to take risk. I mentioned earlier about the risk in agriculture. So when you combine the risk in agriculture and small business, practicing medicine in a way is a lot easier. Well, when we started doing research into putting in a vineyard, we took classes, talked to growers, got some knowledge from various sources, and designed our initial planning of 5 acres. We put in the trellis system, and in 2002, over a long weekend, my wife and I, family members, friends, put in 5,400 vines on our hands and knees over about 5 days. At that time, I looked across the 5-acre plot and figured that this was half the surface of the earth. And I thought, what have I gotten myself into? But it has been a genuine adventure. I have not been bored for 30 seconds. Every day is a new challenge and a new opportunity. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of work. But it is something that when people get into, they generally enjoy very much.
Out, and now 3, 2, 1. Do it. Okay.
So it's a whole transition. So I really can't picture myself starting 50 years ago. It wouldn't have been anywhere near possible for me to do or feasible, and it would have been probably 25 years before the Texas wine industry in the modern era even started. So it's hard for me to envision that.
Easy shooting without worrying about the subject.
Well, we're here in the reception area of our winery in Comanche, and we're very excited about our hospitality program here at the winery. The winery is set up for self-guided tours. We have large plate glass windows so that people can see the tank room, the crush pad, the barrel room, and we also have added some various curiosities like this antique press here. This is basically the same thing that we use now. Of course, our modern equipment is a lot more sophisticated, but you would put your grapes down in this basket, would wind this ram all the way up, and then gradually crank it down so that the juice was extracted from the must or the berries or the grapes down into this area where it would be drained into a container. And as I said, the equipment that we use today does the same thing, but is a lot less involved with manual labor, a lot more efficient, but basically the same process. This is a 1,500-gallon tank that we are using to ferment the first Chardonnay that we've ever done. Chardonnay is quite frankly not the great grape for Texas, but it's a wine that's very popular. We frequently have requests for it, and we grow Chardonnay. So this year, instead of blending it, we're making a Chardonnay, and we harvested it last week about this time, and it's in this tank at 52 degrees, fermenting very slowly, and then we will later transfer it into oak to continue its fermentation and get the rich, luscious flavor that is familiar to Chardonnay lovers across the world.
Wonderful. Good. If you can step back, I'll get a few shots or two. There's nothing confidential in those notes, I presume? So
Nope.
I'll get some of that. Okay. You are so articulate and confident. Wonderful.
I can fake it well.
Oh,
That's good.
This is our barrel room, and we typically age our red wines for about a year. That varies from less than a year to occasionally 2 years, but average is about a year. We use both French and American oak. We occasionally will put some whites in barrels. This year we're doing a Chardonnay for the first time, and we will certainly put that in oak. We have done our Viognier in oak, but we generally don't. So it's almost always either 100% reds or 90% reds at the very least. We keep the humidity in here around 70% and the temperature around 60 degrees pretty much year round.
Okay. My first name is Trelise, Trellise.
Okay. And what do you think of all this?
It's quite interesting.
So you married a doctor?
I
A
did.
medical student?
Well, actually, we married right after his graduation from medical school.
And then how did he tell you after he was retiring he wanted to get into the wine business?
Well, it didn't exactly happen like that. We found the property first, and we were just going to come down here and have fun. And then my son, who was interested in horses and livestock and that kind of stuff, decided we needed to move to Comanche, or buy a house in Comanche, I should say. And then he, in turn, found all this land across the creek, and we bought that. And that's how it really all started. It was no planning whatsoever.
When the point came, though, that he said, I love the land, I want to do something with the land, how did he explain to you that he wanted to get into the wine business?
Well, actually, we have a friend in the wine business down in Fredericksburg, and we've been friends for a long time. And he talked to us about growing grapes when we decided we didn't know what we were going to do with the land. He said, well, just let's grow some grapes and I'll buy them from you. And we thought that sounded pretty good. Yeah, very naive, very naive. Consequently, we, went through a little educational process with, with experts on trying to find out if we had the right land and enough water, good soil, and we did, and see, that started the process.
Now, when people retire from the medical profession, a lot of us picture golf and leisure.
Well, that was the first thing. We were going to spend 6 months in Fort Worth and 6 months in Charleston. And that's what our first plan was. This was our second plan, which we didn't think it was going to turn out to be quite this elaborate. But, you do what you have to do.
You seem to love it, though.
I do love it. Sometimes I don't love it as much, but I do.